Welcome to another edition of Your Life Matters. It's yours truly, Michael Norman, your destiny mentor. It's such a great day today. I'm so glad you came to hang out with me. Hey, listen, I hope you enjoy the music because, you know, that's one of my passions as well. I love some good music and particularly jazz. And speaking of which, I have got a project and I'm going to make it available to you in not a very long period of time. I'm going to make it available to you. A project I did a few years back, but I'm retooling and revamping it, and I'm going to make it available to you. But man, I like this. Doesn't that just make you woo-saw? So I hope you're doing well. I hope that you're taking care of yourself, that you are observing all of the safety precautions that we have to do during this COVID-19 experience, or experiment, as some would say. But either case, I hope you're being safe, that you're washing your hands, you're keeping safe distance, and of course, doing everything you can to make sure that you are not exposed to this virus. Wear your mask when you're going out, and the country is fastly trying to, re-up and get back into the normal mode of things, and I'm for that, but let's do it, with a certain level of wisdom. Let's do it wisely. Let's not just go haphazardly out and try to recapture a time that has gone past. This is a new era. This is a new time. And the reality of the situation is that we might as well accept the fact that this is a new normal. Not necessarily that we have to, hopefully, that we're not going to have to walk around with a mask on for the rest of our lives. But there are some adjustments that have to be made because for the reality is we've been out of work for the last 30 days plus. Anything that's gone on for 30 days becomes a habit or a new lifestyle. So we have to be wise. So let's be wise. Let's be cautious, and let's be safe. And I hopefully then you are making the best of this downtime, the best of this this recalibration, this reset that we're in. Make the best of it, and of course, come out on the other side better than we went in. So today, I want to talk to you about 3 things that every woman, that a woman needs to know. She needs to understand this, because we're doing our this entire week is dedicated to relationships. So today we're talking about 3 things that a woman needs to know about a man. Every woman needs to understand this. If you don't get this, you may run yourself right into a heartache and a heartbreak. So I want you to grab a pad and pencil. Got 3 things that every woman needs to know. A woman needs to know this about every man, and make sure this is in place, because if it's not, my friend, you may find yourself in a situation that might not be as pleasant as you thought. I told my daughter a long time ago, one of them, we were on a cruise years ago, my wife and I. And as we were in the cabin, I watched this one broadcast, and it said something that stuck with me for all these years. This is not a slight against men, because obviously I'm one, but it did speak deeply. It spoke so profoundly into my mind that I've never forgotten it. And it said something like this. It says there was a man, it was a movie, I believe. Yeah, it was a movie that we were watching. And in the scene, the father was saying to the woman, saying, never accept a man as he is, because it's self-evident that you settled too soon. And that stuck with me. Never accept a man as he is, because it's self-evident that you settled too soon. Think about that now before you react, before you think, before you get offended. I'm not talking against anyone, but I am saying this is something we should consider, because when I heard that for some reason it spoke volumes to me, because now I understand now what I didn't understand then. And what he was particularly saying is that men needs a challenge. It needs all men need a goal. We need a destiny. We need something to achieve. something to put our hands to do. We are workers. That's the way God designed us. That's the way we were purposed, to go to work. And if we don't have a mission, if we don't have a direction or some sort of agenda in place, then we cease to evolve. And then if you come along and you accept him in this unevolved state, then you rob the man of his desire and his need to evolve even more, because you accept him as he is. So hopefully now, that's not the three things I wanted to mention today, but I was thinking about that this morning as we was preparing for the show, so that hopefully you'll hear the deep wisdom that is in that statement, that if you accept a man, now a woman needs to hear this more so than any man, because women are more relationship oriented than men, and therefore they're more willing to settle for Mr. Right now as opposed to the neglect of Mr. Right. They'll go with Mr. Right now rather than Mr. Right. It takes time for a man to develop. It takes time for a man to maturate and come to a level of maturity that he can handle the things that comes with a relationship. And so again, let me say, for every woman that's watching, never accept a man as he is, for it is self-evident that you settled too soon. Give him space, give him time, give him the ability to mature and to develop and discover, because at the end of the day, all of us are on a journey to discover what our purpose is. What's our destiny? Why are we here? And what was the purpose for my birth? And until we discover that and then begin to embrace that, then we've got to go on to be about the business of walking that out, how to become the best version of yourself. And that's why we do YLM, Your Life Matters, to give you tools, tips, and techniques to help you uncover and discover what it is you were purposed and destined to be. So that being said, I want to share with you three things that every woman needs to know. Fathers, tell your daughters. Mothers, tell your daughter these three things you need to understand, because I just might be saving you from heartaches and heartbreaks, because you need to understand. So today, I'm coming from a verse of scripture in the Bible. Now, for me, the Bible is the ultimate resource for life. It's the ultimate tool of life. It has all kinds of wisdom. It doesn't matter if you're Methodist, Baptist, Pentecostal, Episcopalian, Catholic, Buddhist, Hindu. It doesn't matter. The book covers just about everything that pertains to life and gives you ageless wisdom, ageless, timeless wisdom and insight on how to best navigate through this life. So that being said, good morning, Cornette, Brother Hugh, good to see you guys this morning. So do me a favor right now as we get ready to go into this. Let's share, and start a watch party. Why don't you do that right now? Go ahead and start a watch party and share this with all of your friends, because I think they're going to thank you for the information that you're allowing them to be exposed to, that's going to help them, maybe not them personally, but maybe their daughter, maybe even their son, to help them understand how relationship is done. So all week again, I'm going to be talking about relationships, giving you practical, actionable information that you can apply to your life today. You don't have to be a scientist. You don't have to be a genius. You can be the average Joe and take this information, and it will benefit you. It will cause you to walk into a new level of understanding. And the Bible says, again, in all you're getting, get understanding. And so the best thing you can do for yourself is to understand yourself and understand all that makes you who you are. Okay, 3 things that every woman needs to know. A woman needs to know this about every man before she commits to him, before she goes down the aisle, before she give heart to him. She needs to understand these 3 things. These 3 things that will keep you from heartache and heartbreak if you will observe them. Number one, and again, I'm coming from the scripture. And let me just share a verse of scripture I think that's relevant to the whole discussion today. And it's found in Genesis, the 2nd chapter, and here's what it says. Now, let's see, in second chapter of Genesis. And he says in the 18th verse, and God said, it is not good that the man should be alone. Now that's true in every sphere, not just in a romantic way, but it's not good for man to be alone, period. We are social creatures. We have to interact. That's why so many are struggling with this COVID-19, because we have to stay at home. We can't go out to the beach. We can't go to events and things of that nature. We have to be overly cautious. But now you can see the impact that's having on the culture, because now I just saw the other day they're going to have the first drive-in concert. Why? Because we have to get out. We're socialized creatures. We have to go out and interact with one another. But in this particular case, it's going to be a music concert. I've never been to one where everyone has to stay in their cars. You can't get out and dance. You can't get out and socialize. You have to drive in and enjoy the music inside your car. It's a new normal. But anyway, I digress. So again, coming from Genesis, the second chapter, here's what it says at the 18th verse. And the Lord said, it is not good that man should be alone. I will make him a helpmeet for him. And that's when, of course, he makes woman. Now, there's some things that were in place that you need to be aware of before we get to the point where God says it is not good for man to be alone. Here's what was happening. Number one, earlier on, you'll discover that he created man in his image. In other words, a man that understands and has a good self-image is a safe bet. Because if he knows who he is, then he can appreciate who you are. Oftentimes what happens is men get involved in relationships and when they do, it's to establish or to satisfy some level of their ego. Because at some level, the woman adds some level of credibility or some esteem, or it satisfies a need of the ego. And if a man understands that he's made in the image of God, then he doesn't have to deal with a whole lot of egotistical behavior. So then, number one, he's created in the image of God. So he has to have a good self-image. If he understands who he is, then he can appreciate who you are. A man that doesn't know who he is will not be able to appreciate who you are. In other words, he'll view you as a threat rather than an asset. If he doesn't understand who he is, if he doesn't have a clear concept of who he is, what he brings to the table, all of his assets, as well as his liabilities. But the idea is to minimize the liabilities and accentuate the assets. But if he doesn't understand that, then he becomes a very dangerous individual, not only to you, but to himself. Number two. So number one, God created him in his image. So he must have a good self-image. Number two, God placed him in the garden, which is interpreted as the spot, or in his presence. And so that means that a man that's in the presence of God, if he, number one, has a good self-esteem or self-image of himself, and then he has an awareness of God. Now, it doesn't mean he has to be, Oral Roberts or Billy Graham or anybody like that, but he has an awareness of a need for the presence of God in his own life. No matter how, that doesn't mean he has to be perfect, but he does have a certain level of respect for the presence of God. He has a respect for the existence of God. Now, he might not be the prayer warrior, he might not be a Bible scholar or anything like that, but if he has a basic fear and admonition of the things of God, then he tends to be a good, safe bet for your daughters. Okay, so number one, he has a self-image. He understands his self-image. Number two, he is in the presence. He enjoys the presence or respects the presence of God. And number three, the third thing that God did for him is that he gave him a job. So he placed him in the Garden of Eden to till the ground, take care of everything that God created. He gave that responsibility to the man. So, number 3, the third thing that every woman needs to know about a man is that he needs to have a job. Because if he doesn't have a job, then he's not working out his potential. And then he gets into a rut. And if a man gets into a rut, he's going to be in a steady decline. He's always going to find, as my grandma used to say, idle mind is the devil's workshop. So if a man's not actively engaged in pursuing a destiny, a career, or an investment, or something that's going to add value and worth to him, then he becomes a dangerous threat to your daughters, your nieces, because he doesn't, number 1, he does not have a good image of himself. Number 2, he doesn't respect the presence of God. And number 3, he doesn't work. So if God gave these 3 things to Adam, and then he declared about Adam that, hey, listen, because he has a good self-image, he has or enjoys the presence of God or respects the presence of God. And then number 3, he has a job. When God considered those 3 things, then God says, it's not good for this man to be alone. In other words, this is a good catch. But if you think about it in the reverse order, in that, number 1, he doesn't have a good self-image. Number 2, he doesn't respect the presence of God. And number 3, he will not work. Well, then the reverse is just as true as the other, that it is good that this man remains alone. See, it goes back to what I said earlier, that if you accept a man for as he is, it is self-evident that you settled too soon. That means he doesn't necessarily have a good self-image. He doesn't respect the presence of God, and he will not work. A man that will not work will not eat. That's just the way it goes. That's the way I was brought up. If you don't want to work, you don't want to eat. That's and for a man, it's essential for his development. It's essential for his maturation that he has a task. He has to be task oriented. Otherwise, he vacillates in and out. Most of the time, when you talk to perhaps a man that maybe have lost his way, it's primarily because, notwithstanding, there are a lot of people, men that are on Skid Row, that are homeless and things of that nature, that are just geniuses. Doesn't mean that they're not educated, but it does further proves the point that if he doesn't have a good self-image and he doesn't respect the presence of God and he will not work, then he's not a good bet for your daughters. He's not a safe bet for your nieces. And conversely, he's not even a safe bet for himself because he doesn't understand who he is, what he's called to do, and what's his destiny in life. So a man with no destiny is like a ship without a sail. If you put that ship out there on the middle of the ocean, and it doesn't have a sail, it has no navigating mechanism. It doesn't have anything to bring him into his destination. And life is the same. If he doesn't possess those 3 things, number 1, a good self-image, because you have to invest in yourself. You have to take time to read. We are all a product of the books we read, the music we listen to, and the shows we watch. We're the sum total of the books we read or don't read, the music we listen to, and the shows that we watch. Whatever we take into our 5 senses, particularly our ears and our eyes. Whatever we take in, the majority through our eye gates and through our ear gates will affect our own self-image. And so, if that's true, and I believe that it is, then it's important to guard your eyes. It's important to guard your ears. You remember when we used to sing to our little ones, be careful, little ears, what you hear. Be careful, little eyes, what you see. Why? Because they stand the greatest chance of influencing our destiny. And so we have to protect what we allow to go into our 5 senses. And primarily what goes in through our eyes and our ears. So three things that I believe that every woman needs to know about a man. If you understand those three things, then you're safeguarding yourself from unnecessary pain and suffering and tears and all the other negative things that come with toxic relationships. I talked about just a few weeks ago the narcissist. There's no amount of love. Your love and your devotion to a narcissist will not change a narcissist. He will be a narcissist. No matter how much you love him, no matter how many cakes you bake for him, no matter how much sex you give him, a narcissist will not be satisfied because they have it is a disorder. So when you understand, number one, that he doesn't have a good self-image because he's selfish, self-centered, and self-egotistic, there's no room for you in that relationship because he's too full of himself. You do understand that. So all I'm saying to you again, three things that every man or every woman needs to know about a man to protect herself from hurt, heartaches, heartbreaks. It's going to be a blessing to you. Number one, has a good self-image. Number two, he respects the presence of God. And number three, he has a job. If he has those three things intact and in place, it is not good for this man to be alone. But if he doesn't have those three things in place, it is good for this man to remain alone. Stay away. Put red flags, yellow tape, whatever you've got to do to mark him off and make sure that your daughters doesn't get involved with that kind of individual. And when you do that, of course, you stand the chance of having the most happiness in your life. Well, that's what I have for you today. I trust that you have got something out of that. Do me a favor. Tell a friend, share this because it is imperative. It's important. It could possibly save your daughters from a pending heartache and heartbreak. Again, hey, listen, I appreciate every one of you for tuning in and for being a part of this YLM. I want to expand and grow this audience, so I need your help. I need you to go ahead, share, tag someone. Maybe you know someone that's in a relationship or pondering a relationship with an individual. You get this into their hands so that they can protect themselves and guard them from unnecessary distractions and toxic relationships. Because we are all social creatures. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be in a relationship, but you have to be careful for the ones that you go into relationship with. Okay? That being said, I've got to roll up out of here, but I appreciate every last one of you for tuning in. Again, this is an outreach of Michael Norman Ministries, and this is something I believe. Now, I'm a pastor. I've got 2 degrees, biblical studies, pastoral counseling. I've got 30 plus years of ministry experience. I'm not a licensed psychiatrist, but I've got enough experience to advise you based on what I've seen, because we are all the same no matter where you go. We all have the same needs, the same desire. We need to be loved, we need to be appreciated, and we need to know what's our destiny, what's our purpose, why am I here? That's why we present this YLM for you. And of course, we're all locked up. So I normally do this once a week, every Monday. But I made a vow that every day while we're in this COVID-19 experience, that I will walk with you 10 a.m. every morning, Monday through Friday, and to help you manage the issues and the matters of your life. So I hope you've been blessed. I hope it's been a source and a resource for you, for your life, for your ministry, for your business. Of course, again, this week we're talking about relationships. So it's going to be a good one. So I would invite you, share, and plan to tune in tomorrow, same time, 10 a.m. right here on Facebook Live, right here, YLM. And then, of course, if you want to support, by all means, do so by checking us out at Cash App. You can use $MNMinistries. That's $MNMinistries. To send your donation to help us reach this entire globe. This is a new era that we're in, and we're not doing business as we used to. It's not business as usual. we've got a new normal in place right now. So to support the ministry so that we can go around the world and we can do, we're doing, planning right now to do live events where I'll be in a city near you. We'll be talking about relationships. We'll be talking about finances. We'll be maybe discuss some issues of religion and things of that nature. And all of that is to help you to come into the fullness of who you are. You can also check us out at PayPal, MichaelNormanMinistries, at PayPal. And of course, you can do like my mom used to say. She told me, says, I can't do all that electronic stuff, but you can send any donation of any size. Send it to Michael Norman Ministries, P.O. Box 850, Apopka, Florida 32704. And of course, everything that you give is tax deductible. I appreciate your giving. I appreciate your support. We want to expand this even more to do greater works. And of course, we are involved in helping those that are less fortunate all around the world, across the nation and around the world. And you're helping to make that happen through your donation. So I appreciate you. We have dug wells in Africa. Like I said, now with this pandemic, it's changed the game. And so we've got to step up our efforts to impact the world in the most positive way possible for the least of us, for those who are less fortunate, and for everyone that helps. I believe that God will bless you. And like I said before, you hear that jazz in the background? I'm going to make something very special available for you in not too many days. Be on the lookout for it. Again, I've got to get up out of here, but again, share. Start a watch party. Let's build this audience. Let's go to the next level. I love you. This is Michael Norman, your destiny mentor, reminding you that your life matters. So let's go to work. I'll see you next time. God bless.